Yet again, Logan Gilbert just wasn't good enough. We'll discuss that and more coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. This is Tony Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. So, yeah, there was a baseball game played at Yankee Stadium last night. Mariners were present for it. Not sure if they necessarily, played in it, but they certainly were there. 10-3, the final score. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Logan Gilbert, talk about tonight's game, and also look at a couple of the most recent mock drafts to see what the industry thinks the Mariners are going to do on day one of the draft on Sunday, because Colby and I certainly have no clue what they're going to do. But let's start with last night. Kind of hard to believe that this game was nothing to nothing about halfway through before it entered a 35-minute rain delay. Rain was coming down pretty hard. We were wondering when exactly they were going to call the tarps out. And it happened at a very weird part in the game too, with a 1-2 count on JP Crawford with runners on the corners. JP obviously winds up grounding out to end that threat once the delay was over. And we were wondering, what Gilbert was going to look like when he got back, or if he was even going to pitch at all once the game restarted, because he was shoving beforehand. And that really sucked that the rain delay got in the way of that, because Gilbert looked arguably the best he's looked all year, at the very least, since he's returned from the IL. He had most recently struck out Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. And he made them look silly in those at-bats. But when he got back on the mound, he pretty much completely lost all feel. Was almost able to get out of a threat during his first inning back on the mound. But Peraza hits a ground ball to Cole Young. Young bobbles it and a run scores there. Then the next inning out, Gilbert gives up the three-run home run to Giancarlo Stanton. Boom, 4-0 Yankees. At that point, with the way the offense was looking, game over. Casey Legumina comes in. That was a disaster. Gilbert winds up finishing the night, 5 earned runs on 7 hits over 5 1/3 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, 8 hard hit balls. Just not good enough from Logan Gilbert. Once again, right, we've talked about this a lot. He hasn't been able to get deep into games. He wasn't able to last night once again. He only has 1 quality start on the entire year. And, on the broadcast last night, they talked all about how, if he was qualified, he'd be running one of the greatest strikeout rates of all time. But he's needed a lot of pitches to get those strikeouts. And I mean, you look at the way this game started. What was it, a 9-pitch at bat to Jason Dominguez? I mean, that's kind of representative of the year as a whole that Gilbert is having right now, because he's really struggling to put guys away, and that's ballooning the pitch count. And for a guy that led the entire league in innings pitched last year, he's not able to get deep into games, and that's a huge, huge problem for Logan right now. So I think it's time we have a real conversation about Gilbert's struggles this year and just him not giving the Mariners what they need out of him.
Yeah. You talk about the quality start. It's not a good stat. But the fact that Logan has 1 all year, and that was back on opening day, is worrisome. I mean, the big part of a quality start is that you go 6 innings. And Logan just hasn't been able to do that. And again, that is a big part of what Logan does. He's reliable. He's dependable. He's going to go deep into games. Every 5 days, your bullpen, at least your middle guys, are going to be well rested. They're going to get a day off. And that just hasn't been the case this year. Logan has struggled to go 5 most nights and sometimes doesn't even get there. So, yeah, it's a weird conversation to have about Logan because look at the strikeouts, they're plenty good. You look at the walk rate, it's fine. Like it's right around 2. Like that's totally fine. You look at the ERA, you look at the FIP, you look at a lot of these underlying numbers and they're really good. But when you watch Logan Gilbert pitch, it just doesn't look like Logan Gilbert. Something looks different. The velo kind of jumps up and down. He's not able to put guys away quickly. It seems like every single at bat is at least a 6-7 pitch at bat, and that puts a lot of strain on you and a lot of pressure on you over the course of an entire game. And we've seen Logan Gilbert actually in the past. Even he'll cruise for 6 innings, and then he'll get to the last couple hitters, and then boom, 3-run homer, and you're like, well, that's the ball game. And so Logan doesn't necessarily have a reputation for finishing his outings strong. And that's been something that's been consistent, but at least in the past when he, would struggle in his last inning, it was the 7th inning or the 8th inning when he was struggling, not the 4th or the 5th. So yeah, it's a very weird conversation because again, you look at the numbers, just the ratio stats, really, they're all really good. K percentage is really high. Walk percentage is really good. ERA, FIP, they're solid. Last night's start put a ding in them, but overall he's been good. But then you just do the basic math here. 11 starts, 55 innings. That tells you a lot right there. He's only going 4 innings, and this bullpen is not well equipped to handle 4 innings. And when you consider that you never know what you're going to get from Hancock or Evans on the nights they pitch, Bryce Miller hasn't been able to, stay on the mound at all this year, give you any depth in his starts either. George is kind of maybe starting to turn a corner. It's tough to say. It seems like it, but he's just as likely to go out there and give up 6 or 7. I don't know. I don't know where George is at right now either. So you kind of need Logan to be the stopper. And unfortunately, he's pitching in a way where Luis Castillo has kind of become what Logan Gilbert was last year, where he's the guy who's going to go 6 or 7. He's the guy who's going to fight through, some long innings and some bases loaded situations. And he's the guy who's going to keep you in the game. Whereas Logan, you're just kind of waiting for him to kind of implode, honestly. Now, there are some built-in excuses for why it happened yesterday. Obviously, there's the rain delay, and he was really good before that and really bad after. So that's a really easy way to kind of like, well, it was the rain delay's fault. Or some people were blaming Dan Wilson for putting him back out there after the rain delay. And I just don't know how you do that because we don't have the information. Like, it's a 35-minute rain delay. That's not a super long delay.
Well,
we don't know how long also are.
Like if that would be the preference, is to put Gilbert back out there. So if you think you can do it, you should do it, because otherwise you're looking at potentially using quite a few of your relievers, and then that impacts the rest of the series. That impacts potentially the rest of the road trip.
Mm-hmm. So, right. Remember, you just wrapped up 17 games in 17 days.
Yeah. As someone that has rightfully criticized Dan Wilson a lot, and I'm going to a little later on in the show as well, I'm totally fine with him putting Gilbert back out there. I have no issue with that whatsoever.
I just think that criticism is a lot of hindsight being thrown there, because again, like, they could have taken him out and I would have understood that. Been like, okay, yeah, I get it. They could have kept him in like they did. And I don't think that was necessarily the bad idea. It didn't work out. So again, you can blame the rain delay. You can blame Dan Wilson all you want. Neither of those things hung a slider in the middle of the plate to Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah.
For a 3-run bomb.
This is fully on Gilbert. He just has to be better than what he's been. Since he's come back from the IL, he's thrown 25 and a third innings over 5 starts. He's running a 5.6 ERA with a 4.35 FIP, 3.14 xFIP, 12.43 Ks per 9, 2.49 walks per 9, 2.13 home runs per 9.
Yeah.
It's given up a lot of bombs that's coming back. You gave up obviously the 3 in Chicago, and obviously you can chalk some of that up to the wind and all that, but 3 home runs in Chicago, 1 against Boston, 1 against Texas, then the big one last night to Stanton. And I mean, like, even in his best start that he's had since coming back from the IL, at least in terms of like the fewest runs allowed against the Royals. His last time out before last night's start, he only went 4 2/3.
You get to throw 98 pitches to do that too.
Yeah. And then the Red Sox start where he had 10 strikeouts and he only gave up two runs. His first start back from the IL, he was only able to go 5.
Right. And again, like, are there some starts where you're like, well, Gilbert only went because he got hurt, like the 3 against Miami? Sure. The first start back against Boston, like, yeah, you probably don't want to push him. But it's been a thing all year where Logan has just consistently struggled to go much more beyond 5 innings. So, it's not sustainable. You need Logan Gilbert to be better. Not even like, forget the whole like, oh, it's Dan's fault. Oh, it's the rain delay. Oh, well, he's coming back from an injury, blah, blah, blah. Okay, at the end of the day, your path to winning playoff series, regardless of what they do at the deadline, is about Brian Wu, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, and then Luis Castillo when you need it. If Logan Gilbert isn't that guy, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And right now, straight up, based on what we've seen, especially since coming back from the injury, Logan is not that guy.
Yeah.
Right now, Logan Gilbert is your 4th best starting pitcher. That's a problem.
Yeah.
What do you do about it? Like, what's the solution? You just kind of have to keep putting him out there and hope he figures it out.
Yeah. Like
you're not replacing Logan Gilbert.
Brian Wu has been your best pitcher this year.
Yes.
Gilbert is still your ace, though. You need him to be your ace.
You need him to be one, but he's not right now.
Yeah.
And so, but again, what's the solution? Hope he figures it out.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. You're not going to bench him.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a stuff problem. He's got plenty of stuff. He needs to figure out how to get deeper into ball games. Period.
Yeah.
Point blank.
All right. So I want to quickly talk about something that annoyed me last night, and then we'll talk about what's on tap for tonight's game in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, you called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Mariners listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/LOCKEDONMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. Again, that is openphone.com/lockedonmlb. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast for instant reactions following every Mariners game. Be sure to tune in to the Mariners postcast with Anderson Hurst and Christopher Crawford, available on both the Locked On Mariners YouTube and podcast feeds. Before we get back into the meat and potatoes of our show, let's give you an update on our Feeding America fundraiser. Sarah came through with a $29 donation. Harry with $250. Aunt Sophie, it's doing that thing again where it's not showing the actual donation amount, but Sophie donated. Thanks so much, Sophie. Anonymous with $100. Jorge with $100. Anonymous with $20. Anonymous with $51. Anonymous with $50. Anonymous with $20. Anonymous with $25. A lot of anonymous. And then Bob with $50, which brings us up to a grand total of $10,945 raised. So we are very close to that $11,000 mark. And, like I said yesterday, if you donate, hey, maybe the Astros will keep losing. And so far it worked. They lost again last night. Unfortunately, the Mariners couldn't capitalize on that. The Mariners haven't won on a night the Astros have lost since June 8th. It's been a full month. So, yeah.
Fun stuff.
Not like the Astros have given them a whole lot of opportunities on that front because they just continue to keep on winning. But yeah, not great. Anywho, yeah, we're almost at $11,000. It really is incredible. Makes me very, very incredibly proud of the community we built here. So thank you guys so much. All right, let's tie a bow on last night's game. After the Yankees went up 1-0, the Mariners had an opportunity to score, to at least tie the game. They had first and second, 2 outs. Jorge Polanco had just walked. And then the Yankees brought in the lefty, Tim Hill, the only lefty that they have, to face the Luke Raley spot in the lineup. Obviously, Luke Raley probably needs a platoon partner. He hasn't really shown anything in his time in Seattle that makes you think that he can hit lefties with any sort of consistency. Totally fine with that idea. The problem here, though, is that Donovan Solano is his designated platoon partner. And I'd rather just let Raley go up there and hit, see what happens, just so I can keep him for the rest of the game. Because Donovan Solano right now has a 22 WRC. Well, heading into last night, he had a 22 WRC plus against lefties, slashing 179, 207, 218. Luke Raley is not good against lefties. It's hard to be much worse than what Donovan Solano has been against lefties. And it's such an egregious blind commitment to traditional platoons by this coaching staff, whether it's just Dan or the coaching staff as a whole or the organization, whoever. It's like they're not even paying attention. It's like they don't even know what they have. Donovan Solano has been great against righties. He hardly gets any playing time against righties. And I get that because, like, you want Luke Raley in the lineup and you want Kazan in the lineup, blah, 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 blah. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand that. But still, like, the one area that Donovan Solano is actually useful in this year, they're not really using him. Meanwhile, he's god-awful against lefties, and they're like, yep, that's the guy.
Right. We're at July 9th now. It's time to treat these guys for what they are this season versus what they have been in the past.
Yeah.
So Donovan Solano, great against lefties in his entire career, not this year.
Yep.
And so you need to act like it. And by the way, particularly last night, the Yankees only have one lefty in their bullpen. And you know that their high leverage arms are all going to be right-handed. So don't you want Canzone against a righty more than you want Dylan Moore against a lefty?
Dylan Moore, who, by the way, historically has been great against lefties. This year, 189, 291, 392. It's a 98 WRC plus, about league average. Okay, fine. That's nowhere near as bad as Solano has been. But also Dylan Moore for the last 5 weeks has been bad against everyone. Doesn't matter.
Like the worst hitter we've ever seen.
Like completely useless, like at the plate.
Yes. Yeah. Except for that one guy in Pittsburgh. He's pretty good against that guy. But other than that, just awful. So the strict, if you want to use platoons, like, fine, I get it. And for a team that is unfortunately deciding that they are a very mid-market team instead of an upper level mid-market team, which they are, platoons are going to be part of the plan because they're cost effective. Cool. But if you want that, you actually have to get somebody who is a good platoon partner with your main guy. And Donovan Solano is not. So either you need to play Solano more against righties. You need to find a way to get him in there. Maybe you cross your fingers and put him at third base for a game or two to try and get the bat in there against a righty or second base, whatever. Either you need to do that or you need to go get somebody who's actually doing the job you want Donovan Solano to do. And unfortunately, that probably means DFAing Solano or trading him, even though he's been, overall really good over the last month or so. And he's apparently great in the clubhouse. Cool. He can't do the role you want him to do, and you won't let him play the role he's actually good at.
Yeah.
He's not a fit for your roster. And we're 22 days away from the trade deadline, almost exactly.
Yeah.
It's time to make a decision there. Either use him the way he should be used or don't use him at all and go get somebody who can fulfill the role that you clearly want Solano to fill, even though he can't.
I'm just dumbfounded. There's no strategy here. It's just a blind commitment to these traditions that are frankly antiquated and make no sense with the roster that they currently have. Again, like you said, platoons are only as good as the platoon partners you have. And right now, frankly, I think that's a real underrated need at the deadline, aside from just establishing, an everyday bat. I think you need to go out and get yourself some better weak side platoon players for, Rayleigh and Canzone if he's going to be part of this thing for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, just go get an everyday guy to replace one of those guys, and then the other spot, you still need a platoon guy. So, and it'd be ideal if that guy could also hit righties.
Yeah.
But you need more right-handed thump in your lineup, because right now, aside from, Cal Raleigh against lefties, you have very little right-handed power. It's Randy, it's Cal, only about 35% of the time. And that's pretty much it from the right side. You're not getting anything from Solano. You're not getting anything from Dylan Moore. You're getting very little from Garber in the power department. You're getting none really from Ben Williamson. Like, you need right-handed power.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we spent way longer on that than I thought. So we don't really have much time to talk about tonight's game. But just real quick, Cam Schlittler, the rookie making his major league debut for the Yankees, gets Logan Evans making his first start at Yankee Stadium in his career. Again, like I said yesterday, we've seen that go a couple of ways with young rookie pitcher making their Yankee Stadium debut. We'll see how that goes. Logan's been good though for the most part this year, and he had a really nice start against the Royals. He smoked Bobby Witt Jr.
He did. I don't love their odds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought winning yesterday was kind of important. Don't get swept.
Yeah, we'll see. But overall, I've actually liked what we've seen out of Logan, so we'll see if he can battle tonight. All right, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk a little bit about the draft. Some recent mock drafts have dropped, and they all have the Mariners picking the same guy. So that's kind of interesting. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. I mean, you're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's LOCKEDON to get started. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. So the draft is on Sunday. And we've talked a lot about it. We've had quite a few guests on here to talk about the draft. And the consensus has been that there is no consensus as to what the Mariners are going to do at pick number 3. But today, with Baseball America dropping their latest mock draft, Keith Law dropped his most recent mock draft, I believe, yesterday over on The Athletic. Prospects Live just dropped their most recent mock draft. All those outlets have the Mariners taking Ivar Arquette out of Oregon State. Now, that said, if you read like Baseball America's write-up, they also mention Jamie Arnold and Cade Anderson
like
and Seth Hernandez and Ike Irish and JoJo Parker, and they're not sure if they're in or out on Liam Doyle. So who knows? It seems like even though all of these mocks are in agreement that the pick is Ivar Arquette, no one's still 100% sure that that's actually what's going to wind up being the case.
If you're listing 4, 5, 6 names, in a mock draft of like, well, this is the guy we're mocking, but it could be any of these 5 other guys, you don't know. You have no idea. Like, you're guessing, which is fine. I mean, that's basically what a mock draft is anyways, right? You're largely guessing. But in the top 3 or top 5 really of any draft, for this to be so like, usually it's like, it's going to be this guy or this guy. In fact, we feel pretty confident that the top 2 is going to go Kate Anderson and Liam Doyle. Like, I think we feel pretty confident about that. And if it's not, then it's, maybe Ethan Holiday goes 1 and Doyle or Anderson goes 2. But when you get to the Mariners at 3, nobody seems to know. So this feels kind of like groupthink, where it's like, Arquette's the safest option, but every single other draft, like mock drafter, is always like, but watch this guy here, and it's usually 4 or 5 guys that get listed in this spot, and it's you don't know, and that's fine. But like,
and the reason people don't know is because I don't think the Mariners know.
I don't think they do either. I don't think they have.
And Scott Hunter pretty much said as much. Like he said, when he met with the media last week, like, I don't think everyone's going to be happy in our building with who we take.
Right. And it's not because, they didn't, it's because basically we're at the point a few days before the draft where Kate Anderson is kind of the consensus, like, safest pick with really good upside. And he's probably going number 1. And I think he's number 1 on the Mariners board. But he's probably not going to be there. Mm-hmm. And after that, 2 through 10 is like, what do you like? There's just not an obvious upper class, like a prospect in this draft. So
if I had to guess, I think, there's like a certain sect of the Mariners front office that really likes Ivar Arquette, and there's a certain sect of the Mariners front office that really likes JoJo Parker, and there's a certain sect that likes Ike Irish, and just who's going to be the loudest of that group.
Well, right. And ultimately, it's on Jerry Dipoto to make that call. I would assume that he would defer to Scott Hunter. But it's the 3rd pick. Like, it's a lot easier for the GM to be involved when you're picking 3 than when you're picking 20. There's less variables to worry about when you're picking 3. And so we'll see how this draft differs, if it does, from past Mariner drafts. To me, it's one of the more telling things is that there are some gambling sites out there that have listed odds for who the 3rd pick is. And one such prominent site has Ivar Arquette as the favorite. And the number 2 option, like literally just barely below Arquette, is anybody else. Like, I don't think the Mariners are 100% sure what they're doing with this pick. I do think they're spending these last couple of days seeing who they can get the best deal from. And if somebody is offering a significant discount from their list, then they might get the bump at 3. But if not, like if the savings that player is willing to sign for aren't significantly higher than anybody else, who knows? And it's weird because, like, a guy like Arquette, right? Like, you would think, oh well, he's college player, so they typically don't get as much underslot as high school guys do this high in the draft. Well, if Arquette doesn't take a deal at 3, he might go 7 or 8. Like, he might slide. Like, there's so much uncertainty at the top that I think guys are going to be a little bit more willing to cut deals. If we're just talking about, like, who's the best, assuming Kate Anderson goes 1, right? Mm-hmm. Who's the best player in this draft? To me, it's probably Seth Hernandez, but again, he's a prep righty. That's a dangerous proposition. And he's also got more leverage than anybody in this draft, because he could just go to college and be a top 5 pick in a couple of years, or he could just go to a JC and be a top 5 pick next year. So you're probably not going to get much of a deal. And there's a ton of risks there with taking Hernandez. Arquette's got some yellow flags that you got to work through and whatever. Doyle's got some flags with his mechanics and the effort in his delivery. Like, there are no perfectly clean prospects, which is why I really do think the Mariners, number 1, like, I'd be shocked if the Mariners had anybody but Kate Anderson number 1 on their board. But knowing that you're probably not going to get him, I think they're looking for the best deal. And if they can't get a good deal on anybody, I think they probably go the safe route, because just traditionally in round 1, the Mariners have gone, they've gone with relative safety more so than taking big shots on guys.
If there was no bonus pool, it was just like any other draft where you just take the best player, who would you take at 3? Assuming that Kate Anderson goes 1.
Who goes 2?
Probably Liam Doyle. That seems like what would happen there.
At 3, if I'm just taking the best player, well, maybe not the best, but like whatever.
Mhm.
I'm probably taking, I think, still Jamie Arnold. The prep pitcher really freaks me out at 3.
Yeah.
I think Seth Hernandez is the most talented player. I think he also carries far and away the most risk.
Yeah.
Of anybody that we're talking about here. And that's not really fair because it's nothing about him. It's just about the history of taking prep pitchers in the top.
You look at like the Jackson Jobs of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And it takes them a while to get there. And there's no guarantee that when they do. And I really prefer taking pitching from the college section of things, particularly early. And I'll take a shot on a prep pitcher at 35, but we're talking about pick 3 here. Like this is big. Yeah. So I think probably Arnold. I'd like him a little bit more than Arquette, but it's close. Irish, I'm really only interested in Ike Irish as like a significant savings guy at 3, so he's out. JoJo Parker, I like him, but again, I like him a lot more if I'm saving money so I can spend it somewhere else. So if we're taking away the bonus, like the difference between Parker and Arnold for me is not much, which is why if I can get Parker for $1.5 million less than I can get Arnold, I'll take that. But if that's not on the table, then I'm probably going Arnold just because he's a really good blend of floor and upside. And he's a left-handed pitcher, which you have to like. And I just have enough concerns about Arquette's hit tool that I'm like, I'll go with the safer player. But if they took Arquette, I'm fine with that. Like I'm totally fine if they take Arquette. Even with the bonus pool and all that factored in. So like that's a fine pick. I don't have a problem with it. It's just, I have concerns, but basically whoever they take at 3, I'm going to have concerns about. There probably is nobody.
The answer, my answer to my own question is Arquette.
Okay.
Personally, I would also be like totally on board with Arnold. I was a big Arnold guy to kind of start this whole process, but once Arnold kind of started falling down the boards and Kate Anderson started to enter the conversation for real and all that, right. I kind of fell out of love with Jamie Arnold, but I would still be totally fine with that. That's the pick.
I think it's highly unlikely that I'm going to love or hate anything the Mariners do at 3. Yeah. I think this year more than any other, it is so much more about what they do with their second pick through their 11th pick, like the first 10 rounds after they pick at 3. That is going to dictate, because the strength of this draft is really in that kind of second half, and there's a ton of prep shortstops, and the Mariners are going to have a ton of money to go out and get a couple of those guys. I think that is where a bulk of the excitement is going to come for me from this draft. And like I said, pre-recording, I think we've had to record this episode a couple times. This, based on everything I've read, based on everything I've heard from our guests and from other people I've talked to, this is a really, kind of crappy year to have the number 3 pick. It is a phenomenal year to have a comp round A pick and to have the bonus pool money that comes with having the 3rd overall pick and having, more bonus pool money than anybody else. This is a great year to have that. It is not a great year, unfortunately, to pick in the top 3. And that's just the reality of the situation. So bummer, but it's going to be a very important day 1 and the first half of day 2, because again, the bonus pool money is what's going to be the best thing about this draft, not the player you get at number 3.
Agreed. Yeah. So Baseball America also has the Mariners taking Arkansas lefty Zach Root at 35 with the comp round A pick. I don't think they'll go double college to start the draft.
I'd be, if they, with their first 4 picks, so the first, obviously 3, 35, their second round pick and their 3rd round pick, I'd be pretty shocked if they didn't go at least 2 preps.
Yeah.
maybe even 3. But I really think that they're going to go, if they go college in at 335 is definitely going to be a prep guy.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. It's just them going college to start the draft would be pretty contradicting to everything that I've heard. So we'll see. All right, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.